Welcome to the Skill Ranch. This podcast is designed to equip entrepreneurs, professionals, and consultants with skills to impact tomorrow's work environment. Now here's your host, Bilal.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Skill Ranch podcast. On today's episode, I'm meeting Syed Qaswar Abbas, who is a professional and a business leader with more than 30 years of multi-dimensional experience. Abbas is a veteran aerospace engineer who served Pakistan Air Force in initial part of his career and retired in 2006. He later served various multinational companies in USA such as Environmental Tectonics Corporation, Alco, Solistica, and Bombardier Aerospace. Now he runs his own company, Glow Canada, with expertise in complex technology such as aerospace, aviation, information technology, training and skill development, as well as financial services. Based upon his huge experience, Abbas is a coach and a mentor on mindset and behavioral growth aiming towards humanity service and long-term global sustenance. Welcome to the Skill Ranch podcast. How are you doing, Kaswar?
I'm okay, Bilal. Thank you so much. I'm extremely humbled with your very elaborate introduction. Thank you so much. It's an honor to me to be in your show.
Thank you so much for joining. So, for the audience, could you please share a bit about your skills and training work that you're doing nowadays?
I'm doing so many things. It's on professional side. It's on mindset building, trainings to the younger people, particularly. I have my own sons at home, so I keep talking to them and keep educating them a little bit, and whatever somebody else comes to me. So I always offer my services to them. And as you have already said, so it's a kind of multi-dimensional kind of background. So I'm always happy to assist whoever kind of reaches out to me.
Yeah, starting from the point that you mentioned about humanity as a service, whenever we try to help someone out to the extent we can, it leads to a sense of happiness. So we can start with discussing how does inner peace of our mind, of our body leads to happiness, and how does this contributes towards human success?
Bilal, it's a very good question. To start with, as I see that inner peace is the condition where anyone completely accepts his or her environment as normal, becomes harmonized and attuned with it. Resultantly, one starts to love himself or herself and must be happy about it. Then his or her responses to the people and conditions around him or her will be based on the love and kindness. Ultimately, he or she is also accepted by the people and environment as well. And that's the general definition of success. Now, there could be various forms of success depending upon what is one aiming at. So to adopt happiness as a way of life, one has to create and demonstrate multiple identities for his or her self-image as he or she sees oneself. So that's how inner peace leads towards human success.
And one of those identities that many of the individuals, or like if not all, is developed is the professional identity. So, in your words, what would that professional identity be?
Professional identity is very important side of human behavior and human standards. So one must be professionally knowledgeable, updated with latest and futuristic trends in technological advancements about whatever his professional goals are. All human faculties must be utilized to read, observe, network with the right people, attend progressive meetings, join futuristic organizations to extract required knowledge about latest technologies and trends, and future knowledge needed to transform people, communities, systems, countries, world, or universe So whatever contributes towards peace and growth and sustainability. So there has to be no limit, Bilal, on knowledge acquisition, particularly in the field where one wants to work at it. So that's how that becomes the kind of minimum standard of professional identity that one can achieve. So it's the quest of knowledge, latest knowledge about one's own field.
Yes, and when we have kind of sound understanding about what we want to achieve in life, then we start building upon those factors and improve our knowledge. This gives us self-confidence. When we go out and speak on that particular topic, we are confident, we are motivated, and that energy comes from within us. And that is also a good way of getting happiness within our life. But that leads to an important question here, that many of us want to be successful, many of us want to achieve that next step in their life, but how do we identify avenues for growth in our professional life?
There could be different avenues, Bilal. Multiple ways are there that we can have knowledge. I mean, we can get the membership of professional organizations, like in aerospace, I would say International Civil Aviation Organization, IATA, Royal Aeronautical Society, and different regulatory bodies like FAA and EASA, and they have their knowledge creation going on side by side. So we can subscribe to them. We can subscribe to different kind of papers, journals, and publications throughout that one gets notified about their meetings and webinars. Like currently during these COVID times, Bilal, I see that these professional organizations, they're broadcasting and they are offering webinars and educational sessions on LinkedIn. So I find LinkedIn as one of the best platform that these professional organizations, they're coming and they're broadcasting and they're asking people to come and join their training sessions and webinars. So that could be a great avenue. And on the other hand, I see Google as a great resource for knowledge. So any topic we search for on the Google, so Google starts to offer us the similar topics and latest research going on and development going on. So that could be another very important tool that we can use to learn about the knowledge. So it could be different things, but the quest and striving for the knowledge is important. So when one is looking for it, there could be different ways and many ways that one can abreast himself or herself with the latest knowledge in life.
Yeah, that, as you mentioned started from organizations, publication, online courses. I mean, there might be books there. There are like weekly meetings or different organizations that a person can join, as well as in the job they are working, what are the certifications they need to grow in that particular role. So this is a not like these are six, seven things, but there's a lot more that somebody can do to learn. And with having so many things, it is very important to create a goal plan and then act upon that. So for an individual that is going through the situation that we are all in the pandemic, it has brought a lot of negative impacts on our mind, on our thinking capabilities nowadays, with so much happening around us. So in that kind of a scenario, how can we create that goal plan and ensure we act upon it, reflect upon it, and improve it so that we eventually achieve the goal that we want to do?
Very, very nice question, Bilal. In these times, as I understand, the goals always depend upon why of a person. What's my motivation? So starting from why, the top level goal, one has to break down into lower level goals, feeding into the top level goal. For instance, I'll give an example. A well-known person to me, Mr. Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. His mother passed away due to cancer, and that death left huge impact on him, as there was no cancer hospital in Pakistan. And this being his why, leading toward the top level goal of establishing cancer hospital in Pakistan. So managing funding, expertise in medical equipment, facility construction, management of various components of the program, execution of the program, long-term sustenance, were all lower level goals and feeding towards the top level goal. So expanding goals towards strategic and action plans, any bigger or smaller goal can be achieved. Action plans, Bilal, is the detailed step-by-step flow of the activities which contribute towards upper level build-up of whatever milestone we are working upon to achieve. So this is how we have to select first the top level goal and then strategize and break it down to lower level goals and then step-by-step actions towards achieving it. So I think that's the way that anybody, depending upon whatever why he has, he can come first top down and then build up the action plans from bottom up.
And yes, like relating to and acting upon your goals is a great thing, but that doesn't just happen at all. There are other identities that become a part of a person, and only then you can achieve. And the next topic that we will be discussing is what kind of behavior you need to reach to that happiness and success level. So, Qaswar, for the audience, could you please share what is behavior identity of a person?
Oh, excellent area you're touching upon, Bilal. So starting with our topic that how can we adopt happiness as a way of life, we were discussing before about professional identity and the professional standard that we achieved, and now it's a great question that another topic in that question you have highlighted is the behavioral identity. So behavioral identity, Bilal, its focus is love for the people, humanity. So life must be at the core of behavioral transformation. Love as a feeling, not involving as some physiological pleasure or incitement, either kindness, consideration, empathy, care, honesty, integrity, truthfulness, sincerity, loyalty for all kinds. And everyone must be the focus of behavioral identity change. So such a behavior must be practiced without error to make a strong character of a person. So that's the identity which may take some toughness of mind as people responses shall try to shake it. So when identity is changed, it will never come back to the different standard. So this is the behavioral identity that will become one standard, you know. So love for the humanity, love for the people, that's the core of behavioral identity, and we have to practice regularly, and when we achieve it, that will become part of our character, and that would contribute directly to our happiness as a way of life.
And nowadays, with so much work from home being happening, one of the quality that was important even before and now has become even further important, that is integrity and honesty. And and everybody wants a person to be of integrity nature when they want to hire, but this is a tough skill to assess during, let's say, a 1 hour interview. So Kasper, for the companies that would like to hire individual with integrity, how they can assess this skill during a 1 hour interview?
That's an excellent question, Bilal. It's very tough. It's not easy that in 1 hour interview, one can be judged for integrity. It's little longer process, but I would still like to little deliberate upon that interview can provide us some indications and symptoms about one's personality. A person of integrity, Bilal, in my view, will be clear in his thoughts and words. He or she will not leave any kind of gap or flexibility in one statement. Like generally, Bilal, in corporate world, people are used to kind of soft skills and say these statements where they can never be caught. Like there will always be some kind of gray area, multiple ended kind of phrases. So I take such statements not very firm on integrity, and they want to avoid accountability. So as whatever he says, he will have to demonstrate in the times to come. And in that case, his failure of demonstration later, the employment or reputation can be at stake. So we must see during an interview that person is clear about whatever he is saying, so that later on he does not want to evade that, and he will be able to demonstrate that. So at least this kind of a symptom we can have a look during it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And the second skill, again, it's a soft skill. These skills are not meant to be measured, but with so much automation being happening, with robots becoming so popular, the next important skill is empathy. How to get that feeling about someone else, how to be in somebody else's shoes. And that is the skill that I feel differentiate us from the robots. So in your opinion, what is the importance of empathy in this pandemic and post-pandemic corporate world?
Bilal, that's very relevant question these days, and we all, I'm sure, are thinking about it, that this automation might take our jobs or might cause us, redundant and all that. So I see, Bilal, the automation and technological advancements, they are force multipliers. They are extension of human capabilities. So human will always remain at the base of all technological advancements, to regulate, to control, to utilize, or whatever the interface exists with the technology. So ultimate purpose, Bilal, of all technologies is to serve humanity. If any technological advancement goes against human service, will be discarded and must be discarded. Empathy is the need of any human being. He should be able to understood, he should be able to be cared for, so no compromise at all. So all technological advancements must serve humanity, meeting all human needs, including empathy. So I believe future has a lot good for us in terms of automation and technological advancements, and they all will come towards human service and human empathy. So we don't have to be really scared of it. We should be looking at it positively.
There's another aspect in empathy, I feel, that once we love ourselves, that is when we will love others. And that leads to self-image. That once we have a positive self-image for ourselves, it will translate to thinking positively for other things in our surrounding. So in your view, how does self-image contributes towards the overall happiness of an individual?
That's a lovely question. I really love this question, Bilal. In this way, we have to define the purpose of one's existence. Maybe it sounds a little religious, but I'll explain it a little bit more. All those people, all those religions who believe in God Almighty are supposed to be clear that worldly life is just a test. Life hereafter is the actual life to be lived with immortality. If one's purpose is to achieve immortality as a believer, submit one's will to God's Almighty will will be completely taking him towards love for humanity. So, saying that love for humanity is at the core of love for God Almighty. The believer who loves God must love humanity and must love himself as well. And so now let's take the other side. For non-believers, I mean, atheists are there, so we must cover that side as well. I'm sure they would like that human life must sustain and do not get extinct because they have their next generations. So loving oneself is necessary to love humanity, leading towards serving humanity. So that would provide sustenance to human race. So atheists or non-believers would also like their coming generations to live happily. So in that way, whether one is believer or whether one is not believer, one must have self-image, one must love humanity, whether he has God in that equation and he does not have God in the equation. Because for all of us, for all humanity, the sustenance of human life and sustenance of our future generations is important. So that's how I look at it, that for all of us, lovable self-image is very important to love humanity.
And it is not always easy to have a positive view of what's happening in the surrounding. Not everything happening around us is always positive. Sometimes you have to go through criticism, wrong views, and etc. that do come along the way. And that needs us to be tougher than on the inside. That having a tough mindset would help us overcome those things. So, in your experiences, how do you see a tough mindset and the importance of it in our lives?
That's a great question, Bilal. So, identity-wise, to build a human character, tough mindset is number three mindset. It's the number three identity. The tough mindset, Bilal, initially will overlap with behavioral transformation or behavioral mindset. Initially, outer responses, if taken personally, will trigger kind of egoistic behavior. So must be happily suppressed and pretended till it becomes the character trait. Tough mindset identity, person's responses must always be based on intellectual reasoning, not involving sensory feelings. Sensory responses are not suited to a person of tough mindset identity. This maturity needs a lot of practice and mastery till perfect standard is attained. This capability will take longer to master, taking shape of a person's character. Master in tough mindset will make a person unbelievably strong and likable by most of the people in his association. When this identity is achieved, will become a standard and it will never be compromised. So it's not easy. It has some overlapping with behavioral identity, but the core is that it must have the intellectual response, not a sensory response. Like any kind of ego must not come in. It should always be intellectually looked into, and responses to any negative comments should be given with intellectual thought.
Yeah, like ego is one side of the thing, but like criticism relates to also negative emotions. And when we are in that kind of a mindset, we are unable to think positively of other things we would like to do. And especially again with the similar situation that's around us, the amount of negative things that we are hearing is also significantly increased. So, how as an individual we can go about creating a tough mindset and what benefits does it bring in our life?
Bilal, it's a great thing actually. We every day feel that we have criticisms coming in, and we have negative views also coming in. But the main thing is that when you love yourself, and a person with a tough mindset and person with behavioral identity, which is love for the people, love for humanity already achieved, no criticism or negative view will shake emotional balance of that person. Rather, he will listen with patience and responds to it intellectually. So intellectual response is important, Bilal. All the responses should be based on knowledge, thinking, positive thinking. So that's the way to respond to a negative situation. And but with that, behavioral identity and behavioral balance is necessary. That we should be loving people first, and then we should be thinking about it, putting ourselves in the person's shoes and giving an intellectual response. So there should be no impulsiveness into it. So that's how I'm sure we'll be able to give a positive response to a negative comment and criticism.
And here, one of the benefits could also be that that if we are trying to overcome those negative thoughts, it will allow us to focus on the things that we want to do in our life, whether it be running our business, succeeding at a professional job, or any side hustle that we want to do. It will enable us to think in that broader perspective and bring more positive thoughts rather than the negative mindset that won't go that broad into those into the creativity, into the problem solving space. And I would like to here touch once again to the spiritual identity part that you earlier shared with us. And behavioral identity, if we discuss, means love for all, but there is evil out there who wants to harm others. There are so many events happening around us that are not positive. um, so how do we respond to the negative things, to the people around us that want to harm others? How can we think positively about that group of individuals?
That's a great thing to talk about it, Bilal. You mentioned about spiritual identity. So first we talked about the professional identity, then behavioral identity, and number three was the tough mindset. And complementing to that is the spiritual identity. So this part of the character, Bilal, is very important in overall behavior creation and overall mindset build up. So the core thing on which the spiritual behavior and spiritual maturity is based is gratitude and feeling of blessings. So when we have the feeling of gratitude that whatever we have achieved already, now and it could be taken as a religious terms, but it's not religious purely. So whatever we have achieved, uh, it could be in the form of wealth, it could be in the form of happiness, it could be in the form of health, form of family, kids, wife, friends, all connections, so job, business. So whatever we have, we feel that that has been given to us by whosoever, by maybe God, by nature, or we have achieved it, and that is best suited for us. And I have been blessed, if I'm looking at it from God's almighty side, I have been blessed with it, or I looking at myself, that it's if I give credit to myself, so I have achieved it. So whatever I have with me already, I feel happy, I feel satisfied, and I feel thankful for that. Whosoever, it could be to my company, it could be to my people around, it could be to my bosses, to my leadership, it could be to God Almighty, to anyone. So feeling of gratitude, Bilal, and feeling of blessings, that is the core of spiritual identity. And when I have spiritual identity, negativity will not come in, because I already know that I have whatever whatever is suited for me, is nicely suited for me. So that's the feeling of spirituality, and that becomes your character, and that becomes your identity. So then negativity, when it comes in, and you already know that you have whatever you deserve, or you have whatever you achieved, so and you're happy with it, you have feeling of gratitude, so you will be able to absorb that negativity, think about it, and give the response intellectually. So I think that's how we will not be affected by that negativity.
So that's a very powerful point. That gratitude, like whether you believe in God, thank God, or if you work yourself, work hard enough, like be thankful. Be thankful for what you have achieved. And that reflection part is very important. That allows us to see how far have we come within a week, within a month, within 6 months. And that gratitude allows us to have inner peace. It allows us to sleep well in the night so that we don't have so much to think about. But this gratitude leads to even bigger point, which is a person of strong character, a person who has given the hard work, irrespective of the outcome. They have that feeling of gratitude of whatever they have achieved so far, and that contributes towards our own internal happiness, that whichever way it might be for an individual. If it's wealth, they are satisfied on their wealth. If they are belonging of a house, belonging of a family, they are satisfied with it. And and that strong character, not everything is always positive, so there are some negative aspects too. It might be a loss of a job, loss of a loved one, and in that kind of a scenario they are content with it. They are tough enough to make it through. So in your experiences, because they're both positive and the negative side. How can someone adapt happiness, strong character, gratitude as a way of life?
Bilal, since both of the things are always there, so we have to, first of all, that acceptance has to be there. There are negative sides. So we have to accept it. The negative side is always there, and we have to get ready for it, and we have to make sure that we are rightly equipped for whatever downfall comes in. I mean, if you can lose a job, the business can fail. So that failure and losing a job or any kind of downfall, so that is part of this life, and that is what is the test. So in that time, we have to practice patience, and we have to prepare for the next challenge. So when we practice patience, we are ready for it, we are learning, we are developing. So that failure actually, that downfall actually, we have to use it for learning sake. So when we use it for learning sake, so we know that this challenge is temporary, number one. Whatever came in, it is a downfall. So why that downfall came in? So we have to look at the reasons. We have to analyze the reasons. We have to think about it, reflect upon, and then learn from it so that we are able to come up strong for next opportunity. So this downfall side of it, I would not say negative, honestly. This is the downfall, rigmarole side. That's how we have to make sure that we have a feeling of failing forward, not failing behind. That failure should not be able to pull us down. Rather, that failure should make us strong because we are learning out of it. We are developing out of it. So when we learn from a failure, we learn from a downfall, and so then we are going to get up strong, and the next challenge and next opportunity when it comes, we are better prepared for it. So then that's how we actually move forward with more strength, and then we are able to do better in the next opportunity. So I believe if we follow this kind of an approach, that we are learning from it and developing from the failures, we do not, we actually, failure is not a failure. We should not be calling it a failure. These are opportunities to learn. So if we take it as an opportunities to learn, next step will be a bigger opportunity, and we will be able to do better. So that's how I look at it, Bilal.
That's once again very important thing that you said, failing forward. And every experience is an opportunity to learn and grow. And if we take it in that perspective, it will always help us. And really appreciate your thoughts around all those four identities. But before we close, let me ask you a fun question. For the audience today, share a fun fact about Qaswar.
That's interesting. So the fun fact is that my boys, I have four sons, and yesterday was the birthday of my eldest son, and we were sitting together. He turned 28 actually, and so I told him that you're not 28, you are 18. So he started laughing. Dad, I'm 28, so I'm not 18. I said, look, if you grow more than 18, you will be elder than me. So, because I consider myself much younger. And so when you consider yourself younger, you are full of energy, you're full of passion. You are, that kind of age becomes a number for you. So, so I make fun. I'm very playful. I'm always, laughing, moving around, playing around with my boys, and I'm rather making them feel more playful and all that. So, fun factor is that I believe we should be taking every activity of the life playfully. We should not be taking the things seriously. As it is a test, Bilal, I said before, and I do not say that, it's God who says that. And since I'm a believer, so I very strongly believe that it's a test. So when it is a test, and if we take it seriously, we'll not be able to perform well. We have to be ready. We have to do well. We have to have gratitude and professional quest and behavioral stability and mindset toughness and spiritual maturity and all that. But these are not the things to be taken very seriously. Because if we take it very seriously, we will compromise on happiness and love. So, and that's something which is to be discarded, which is not the goal. We have to make sure that if we want to be happy always, we want to have love factor at the core of our hearts. We have to have gratitude factor at the core of our hearts. We need to take the life lightly. Whatever happens, come what may, we need to be maintaining composure, maintaining patience, thinking about it in a cool and composed way. And that's how I believe that we will be interesting, we will be charismatic, we will be graceful, we will have gratitude, patience, and everything. So that's the, I think, concludingly, Bilal, the fun factor should be that we should take it lightly, not take it seriously.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Qaswar. And thank you so much for being part of the Skill Ranch podcast. It was pleasure learning from your experiences.
My pleasure, Bilal. And I'm so happy that you gave me this opportunity to talk to you and to offer my very humble thoughts. And I'll be even more happy if someone can get some benefit out of it. So that's how I want to maintain that the center of our performance, center of our personalities, and center of our worldly life should be contributing towards humanity. So if my words are, influential a little bit in bringing some change in somebody's life and behavior, I think that would be a great credit for me. And I appreciate your time, Bilal. Thank you so much, and hope to talk to you soon again.
Okay, then. So thank you everyone, and I'm looking forward to having you all on the next episode of Skill Ranch podcast.